Thank you for joining us today. Today, I am speaking with Chris Morgan. He is a senior HR specialist at Bosch. You may know them as the auto parts manufacturer and a lot of the tools that you see in the hardware store, but they are much more than that. And Chris, just give us a quick introduction to Bosch and what you're doing there.
Definitely, David. So thank you for that introduction. And as you pointed out, we are a manufacturer of automotive components. We're one of the largest suppliers in the world for automotive components. This is the things that propel your car forward. This is the stuff that keeps your car driving safely on different surfaces. You think about technologies like anti-lock brakes, stability control, rollover protection, things like rear view cameras and driver's assistance features, to even the things that you see on the dashboard of your car and as you're doing your controls for your music or maybe as you're trying to navigate to your destination. But we're more than just that. As a company, we do have divisions that are set up to build power tools and technology. So maybe you're more familiar with that segment. We do things in the energy industry. If you look at our thermal technologies group, tankless water heaters, geothermal heat pumps, and so for us, we actually try and invent and develop products that are holding true to our creed, right? Invented for life. So all the products that we develop, all the services we develop, are really focused with that intention on how can we impact people's lives in a positive way.
Mhm. And we're talking to a lot of IT people here, and I'm going to validate or not validate, but a stat I've heard before is that inside most cars today, there may be 5 million lines of code written in there. And depending when you look at all the different parts that are in there, there's a lot of software. And cars are actually becoming more of a collection of IoT devices than mechanical devices to a certain point. And so you guys are getting involved heavily in just the programming and IoT devices that are winding up inside cars, inside other types of equipment, correct?
Absolutely, David. I think when you look at the automobile and the transformation it's currently undergoing, the big drive right now is to create vehicles that are able to navigate safely to their destinations, and to also do so where you have computers that will help you aid in that driving. So autonomous driving is probably a buzzword that I think most people in industry recognize as this big new technology on the horizon. And in order to enable that, you have to be able to measure, what the vehicle's doing, but also what's the world around you doing. And then you need to be able to react to that. And computers allow us to be able to do that so much more quicker than a human can be.
Yeah.
But there's got to be somebody who is actually writing the code and testing the code and validating and verifying all of that software components and systems work together.
Way more than 5 million lines of code in an autonomous vehicle, that's for sure.
Yes.
Now, the one of the reasons that we first got together is we were talking a lot about just how companies are struggling to find the technical talent and find IT people and software developers, QA engineers. And Bosch has done something very interesting. You guys, I guess we could say, creating your own apprenticeship programs. Long history of apprenticeship programs at Bosch from the automotive side, but you guys have just said, hey, let's expand this to everything else that we're doing here and on the tech side. So, can you speak to that a little bit?
Definitely, David. And as you noted, we have a long history with apprentice programs, with on-the-job learning. Right, that an apprentice program, it's so important and so essential to developing the skills needed. Our company founder, Robert Bosch, was an apprentice himself. He spent some time working with American inventor Thomas Edison. Came to America supporting Thomas Edison,
Did not
um,
know
but
that. That's
but when
awesome.
it's very cool. And so when you look at it, I think apprenticeships are ingrained in our DNA as a company, right? It's about learning, it's about innovating, it's about developing the new skills and technologies that again go back into developing products and services that are invented for life. Um, with the apprenticeship program now shifting from the traditional apprentice programs that you think about, maybe electricians, pipe fitters, welders, machining, you think about those in the traditional sense. Our program is focused more on this information technology software development. I We've had plenty of help. I can't say that we are pioneers necessarily. I think we are definitely looking at IBM, who started this what they call new collar approach in the mid 2010s, where it's developing on the job training programs for these type of information technology jobs, Where we're focusing is the end product and end service, and that's how our program somewhat differs. Is that we're developing software to go into automobiles, right? So we've got this very close connection to hardware. And how do we ensure that we're able to make real time decisions? How are we able to take sensor data and use that to come up with our different algorithms and then control some sort of output? And again, all goes back to the ecosystem of the vehicle and moving that forward.
Wow, that's great. So, what kind of people are coming into the apprenticeship program, and what are they doing?
Yeah, for our first cohort, we hired in 2020, so in the midst of the pandemic, and they actually just graduate. So our program itself is about 12 months long, and we do focus completely on the job training and complement that with some theoretical training. We hired in and graduated 5 apprentices, and I'm happy to report that in late 2021, we were able to convert all 5 of those apprentices post program into positions within the organization so that they can continue on at post program. From a background standpoint, what we're looking for are people who have the ability to have a valid driver's license because they have to be able to support vehicle testing, perhaps, in some of the divisions that we're working with. But then we also look at do they have a high school equivalency or some sort of GED equivalency, high school diploma, and do are they authorized to work in the United States? And so all of our candidates for this apprentice program and software need to have those minimum requirements. But outside of that, we're not necessarily looking for someone who has a ton of experience in software development. Things that catch our eye, right, are people who maybe have tinkered with software either at home, doing home automation projects, things that maybe they're supporting they have a son, daughter, niece, nephew that is participating in some sort of STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math program, something like FIRST Robotics, VEX Robotics, something like that, where maybe they've gotten involved and they've helped go through some of the software development there, and again, no formalized training, but they've realized that this is a passion and they want to pursue it further. And prior to this type of opportunity, you would have to necessarily go through a 4-year degree program, get a degree in Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science, and then connect up with a company. Maybe you internship through that. But for a lot of people, maybe a 4-year degree path just isn't available to them at this time. And so, for a number of reasons, and I think with our first cohort, if we look at those 5 individuals, a common theme amongst them is that they are already engaged in the workforce. Some of them may already have some credentials. Maybe it's a degree, maybe it's a certification in unrelated fields. But what they're looking to do is pivot and try and engage this technology sector in a way that allows them to continue developing this passion and enthusiasm around software in a more formalized format. And that's where our apprentice program, we can now connect those individuals to the theoretical training, but then provide that on the job training experience so necessary in developing hardware and software solutions for the mobility sector. And then they're also not doing this alone. They're partnered with a mentor, an experienced software developer who can help navigate the ins and outs and connect that theory in a more easily manner to the actual applications that we're using and developing here at Bosch.
Wow. And so, an example of some of the things that they're actually working on right now, because we're calling them software developers. Can we dig into, like, you have people working with C++ programming on a piece of on a device, or is it C sharp, or yeah, full stack development, something else? I mean, could you elaborate a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. Love to talk about the projects, and I think for me as the apprentice program lead, it's always exciting when I talk to the apprentices and ask them, what are the things they're working on, and trying to get an understanding. And you can see the enthusiasm and how encouraged they are, and you can also sense, sometimes that. You can when they hit a wall or they're being challenged, right? And our job or my job is to help coach them to overcome that. But from a skill set, we primarily focus on in mobility development, C, C++, Python. And what we're looking at is not just developing the code and the algorithms that go into the embedded control unit that helps whatever feature or function on the vehicle, but we're also looking at how do we test, how do we validate the software code, how do we ensure that the code meets the quality standards expected by our customers and also by the end users who ultimately are going to be interfacing with our products. And so I think with that in mind, we see a lot of projects, right, where it's maybe supporting automation task. So our apprentices could be coming in and developing and using scripts to create some automation tasks to right to ensure that we can repeatably test certain elements of our code. Maybe they're looking at the data analysis element of it. So when we look at, okay, we've tested it, but how do we quickly come to a conclusion or a result, right? That we say, okay, this code is meeting the standards that we've set for releasing. So can we automate some of the test results there? And then obviously we have to still sit down and work together with our approvers, right? So we have release engineers, right? So we want to make sure that again everything is it's not just a matter of checking boxes and saying the software is good, but also making sure that the tools that we're developing are also being validated in a way. So a lot of opportunity for apprentices in the software space to really learn about the different elements, and I would say even going as far as requirements analysis, trying to understand the different tools. So when a customer asks for a change or maybe there's a function change that needs to happen, right? Something that needs to be configured a little differently. The apprentices are being exposed to those types of change requests, and they're able to work with their mentor and understand what is it the customer's asking. How can we meet the customer's request, and how can we ensure this in a timely manner? So they're not just learning the technical skill set, right? They're learning a little bit too about some project management, how they manage their time, how they manage themselves, and they're doing that all within the Bosch framework.
So there's a lot of people going to hear this and going to say, this is different. I mean, because so many software and technical oriented companies, they're used to hiring the MIS, the computer science, electrical engineering majors out of school. Maybe they interned for a summer before that and they got to work, but it's very tightly coupled. And you're saying we're going to go outside that spectrum a little bit, bring in some just smart people who may not have gotten into that 4 year program or had a different career path or studied something else, and we're going to train them for a year on what they need to do here and have success with it. So it's you stepped out of the box, and sounds like everything is working awesome support for Bosch so far.
It, that's correct, David. Yeah, and everything is so far. It's been a really great journey, I think, for the apprentices who have graduated, for the apprentices currently in the program, for from our side as managers and mentors that are working with these apprentices. But I think for us too, the concept of a 4 year degree program, or if you go on for a master's, we still have a tremendous amount of need for individuals who follow traditional academic pipelines to connect to jobs. But some of the statistics, that research shows that maybe it's 60,000, 70,000 graduates from 4 year programs are coming out with the skills needed to support information technology jobs, IT jobs, software developing being one of them.
Not
But
enough of the, not enough people for the jobs.
but not enough people, absolutely. And I think it's again, it's something like industry's asking for 700,000, right? So you've almost got this tenfold difference of what industry needs in order to continue to move their products forward because of the increasing complexity, because of the new features, because of the new technologies and tool suites and things that are available. And then again, it's how do we bridge this skills gap, and by offering an apprentice program, we're able to start building an additional pipeline in the organization. So not replacing any pipelines, just complementing them in a way where we still have space. If you're listening to this and you're graduating with a computer science degree, electrical engineering degree, any of those, I encourage you to check out the Bosch Careers website. There's opportunities there for you. But at the same token, we are definitely focused on also trying to build and develop this apprentice pipeline, just like we work to develop all of our associates.
Yeah. Now, speaking of building the apprentice pipeline, is there another class cohort coming up, in the near future? And how many people are you looking to bring into that?
Yeah, David. Right now, we're looking at talking to our business units. So every year we go through strategic workforce planning, and we want to make sure what are the number of entry level positions that we're potentially looking for that we can develop an apprentice to be able to meet those entry level needs. So right now we're in those discussions and finalizing the numbers, but the goal is to try and open the postings for Q2 of this year. So if you're looking again at the Bosch Careers website and you type in keyword apprentice, you should be able to find our program then. And then with a target start date of Q3 once we get through the hiring process and everything. So I think the key too is that for this, it's not just hiring a single person, but when we develop this program with this apprenticeship program, even though all of our apprentices are working in different divisions, right? So they're maybe supporting chassis control divisions, maybe they're supporting some of the driver's assistance functionality, sometimes in the powertrain, the propulsion systems. We still start all the apprentices at the same time. So we try and coordinate that from a selection process and a start process. And what we found is this journey going through, even though they're working with different products and services, maybe their focus is even on a specific language. So maybe one group's focusing more on C and one's focusing on C++ in their development work. It They create a bond within that cohort experience, right? They're going through a very similar learning transformation journey, and we want to promote, encourage, and foster that type of bond because ultimately it is an intense 12 months, and they are the only ones that really truly know. We can anticipate what they're going through, but they know what they're going through when they're being asked to step outside their comfort zone a little bit. And I think for this type of program to be really successful, that cohort experience has been amazing, and I'm sure any of our recent apprentice graduates will be able to verify that.
Yeah. So I can't emphasize enough that this is just it's a slightly different out of the box way of looking at this. And you're talking about the gap in the number of people graduating with the skills and what businesses are demanding. It's only going to get bigger. We look at that and just using just one thing that you were really closely in touch with the autonomous vehicles. When we got 5G and all the cars talking to each other and talking to all the IoT devices and the smart cities are coming down the road, fully enabled by 5G. We are talking about a degree of devices and mobile devices and cars talking and using all that 5G bandwidth. Yeah, it's only going to go one direction. So, sure, you guys are smart for getting ahead of the curve here. I congratulate you on that. So, anything else about the program that you want to make sure that people know about, or anything else with Bosch you want to make sure people know about?
Yeah, from a program standpoint, I think if you meet the minimum requirements and you think that you would be a good fit, good candidate, I think it's never too early. There's so many free resources available, right, to just kind of check things out. And you look at e-university platforms, you look at edX, Coursera, all of the things that are available, right? Pick up something, pick up a kit, pick up a Raspberry Pi, pick up an Arduino, to tinker a little bit, to develop an app for your phone, right? I think
Yeah.
it will only show you a little bit about what the challenges that you're potentially going to face, but it will also help you because it will tell you whether or not you really are passionate about this, whether you have the enthusiasm. Like I said, we're not expecting everyone to come in with the knowledge already in hand, but if you've already discovered in yourself that you are truly passionate about this type of career field, that's definitely going to be showcased through the selection process, and that will only serve to help you. And I think if you're coming out of high school and you're not quite sure what to do, I think where you want to go next, and everybody says, oh, you have to go to a 4-year program. Definitely consider that if that's something that works for you and you're able to make that connection. I definitely I value my background. From an academic standpoint, I went to a university. I have an electrical engineering undergrad. I have a master's in mechatronic systems engineering. And so for me, I was the first generation college student from my family, and there was a lot of things that we navigated that if I would have known them, how to pay for school and everything like that, maybe the apprentice program would have been an appealing alternative, right? And again, it doesn't say that once you go through the apprentice program that you don't ever have to go back to school, right? I think within the Bosch organization, apprentices who graduate are encouraged to utilize tuition reimbursement if they want to continue learning, developing, upskilling, so to speak. That's a resource that becomes unlocked after you join the organization, after you've graduated the apprentice program. And I think for us, as an organization, we look at this not only for apprentices, but just for all associates, the mindset of continuously learning, continuously improving, growing, right? And it's adding to the skill set toolbox. So I think for all associates, we're very, very proud of the resources and opportunities that the organization provides us, and trying to take full advantage of them to continue moving forward and finding, um, a role in the organization that's satisfying. And my background, I think, also, I don't know if we mentioned, but before I joined, I'm not an I work in HR currently, but I spent 11 years working as a powertrain calibration engineer. So I
Not
did
too
kind
many
of a
people in HR with an engineering degree.
it was a completely different path, but for me, this is, developing people, contributing to this type of program, and helping people, I think, realize their passions and their potential, has been a tremendously good fit, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity that the organization has provided in allowing me to contribute in this space.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you guys are definitely on the right track on a lot of things. I think you guys are going to get a lot of positive attention about this. The more you talk about it, expect a steady flow of people wanting to know more about it. So, congratulations. All right. Well, thanks for your time today. I appreciate it. All right. Bye bye.
Thanks, David.